we were discussing the building, and what was the name of that building? You said it was a bank? Is that what
It was First National Bank at one time.
it was?
Yes.
And they have a big safe in there, I understand.
They do. What's
Yeah.
left of it.
And can you tell us a little bit about the building? From your memory. You said when you were a young person.
I was a young person.
Yeah.
There's a doctor's office in the first floor, Dr. Crescent L. Owens.
Okay.
And directly upstairs, there's a dentist office.
Okay.
And there's Dennis Williams, Gordon Williams. So it was a medical building, sort of.
It looks structurally strong. I can't believe that they could.
Absolutely. It was one of the pristine homes in town.
Was it?
Because both doctors lived in the home.
Oh, they worked there and lived?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then later on, there was, after both of them passed, that I'm not really sure who went who. I think there was a Harry Williams, I think, bought the building.
Okay.
And he kept it as a rental. And then it passed on to, I may not have these in correct order, but I think Richard Krinchek.
Richard bought that?
building.
Wow.
And then it ended up that the last business it was in was the Coalport Progress branch office, which my wife and mother was branch managers.
Wow.
And when the Progress party did down, it all reverted back to rental properties. And as most buildings in town, it deteriorated to the point of what we see it here today, that it was being demolished.
Demolished.
It's another vacant lot in town.
Across the street, the Pizza King, was that the funeral home, or was the funeral home torn down in the parking lot?
The funeral home was in the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Chaplin's funeral home.
Chaplin's.
And it was also a furniture store.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, V.J. Stevens originally, apparently had the building where the Pizza King is.
Uh-huh.
But that was before my time, and it was a furniture store also.
Wow.
And then through the years, what I can remember of, it became a hotel hall.
Okay.
All as they moved, and I'm not sure whether Jim Pino bought the building, but he had a bakery downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Very successful.
Wow.
And it reverted back to rental properties.
You were talking that there was a congregation of guys that you used to go past, but the kids at that time, which you were part of,
Yeah.
you didn't bother them. Can you relate that a little bit?
Well, it was usually Sunday afternoons that the local business people in town, they gathered, and apparently they had a pinochle club.
Okay.
And we respected that as kids, because we didn't want to disturb them.
Uh-huh.
But we were bad kids, but we
You were kids, huh?
We respected it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the best time in Coalport that you could remember?
The best decades, I'll say decades, was 1950s and 1960s. There were world problems in town, problems with individuals and whatever, but it was the good times. The good times.
Can you recall when you were on council, when you first went on?
Yeah, I was approached to go on council. I knew nothing of council, and I became part of the pecking order as council person. First 8 years of my council, I was street committee chairperson, and I learned the ropes. I hope I did through the 8 years, and I just loved the borough, so I continue to stay on for the next 27 years.
Wow. So after 8 years, you were there 19 years as president. As president,
yes.
Oh, very good.
Maybe because I didn't know the difference between shut up and stand up.
What were some of the achievements that you did as president on council?
Well, we kept the borough soft.
Okay.
That was one of the main things. There's probably more that should have been done, but money-wise, as always, it wasn't available. But the infrastructure, we tried to keep it as best as we could. We had good counselors.
When I came in '74, the borough building was where the Black Diamond Estates is.
Correct.
And the water company, was that the borough's responsibility?
The borough's had the water company, yes.
Yeah. And were they drilled wells or was it spring water?
It was drilled wells. Apparently, that was before my time. They processed and they purified the water and then pumped it from the pump station to a holding tank up on the hill. That supplied Coalport.
Yeah.
Sometimes good water, sometimes not so good.
Well, I know my hot water tanks didn't last too long.
No.
It was corrosive.
Sometimes there was a thicker odor that people didn't care for.
Yeah, they'll have to have a water softener.
Yeah.
Well, what other buildings can we talk about? Across the street, the lawyer used to have that, but I think Rick Ginner said that was his homestead. Was that his homestead?
You mean with the attorney's office?
Yeah, where?
That was his granddad.
Oh, grandfather. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And your father had a gas station? Or
Yeah, him and I, in 1955, we took over the Amico station where the present uniform is.
Okay.
And we operated that until 1970. It was 15 years of good. It was good. Good.
What's the newest vehicle that you worked on there at that time?
Well, we worked on any car that come in, any problems.
57 Chevy.
Oh my goodness, all the hot rods, all the good ones. That's what I just said previously. All the good years.
Yeah.
All the good years.
That's pretty demanding. What time did you get up in the morning? Oh,
Yes.
I think it flipped. Yeah. Your mother was in the Progress how many years? When I first came, she asked me if I'd give her an office, and we made her an office.
Yeah.
And that was in '76, I think.
I'm guessing for the better part of 30 years.
30 years for the Progress.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when she first went to the Progress building was down where Larry Radcliffe lives.
Oh, okay.
And he had there was an office there.
Yeah.
And through the years, it moved different different locations from town.
Yeah.
And they ended up here at this building that we just spoke of was being demolished.
Was progress in the old Coalport Standard building at one time?
The Coalport Standard building is right where we're selling. This building here where...
Oh, this was Coalport Standard?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the one that Richard Haggerty had when I first started. That little building that was nestled in between... Oh, where was that? I think it's in the parking lot of the medical center. It was one in between what was that business? True Value. True Value,
yeah.
Remember?
That was one of the moves that Progress made.
Okay.
Or the Commercial Progress got an office in there.
Okay.
She was manager there, but as a matter of fact, it was the Progress office was in that building you just spoke of.
Okay. And that's what I thought was the Coalport Standard.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, they just kept upgrading, and there was one time at the Dixie Theater, after the Dixie Theater quit, there was an office open there, and the Progress was located there.
Wow.
And then there was another Nation Press, maybe. They moved across the street there.
Yeah.
The Progress, it had quite a few locations in town.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Now, you always hear about the Opera Theater. That has multiple floors. Did they have a big area? I mean, I was in the Dixie Theater, and it had a big area for the public to go into, and a stage, and then they had the screen.
Yeah.
But this, what do they call that again? I just said it, and I can't recall. The Opera House. Everybody always talks about that.
What I can remember that, it was also run at the top floor was a Masonic.
Oh. The lodge had a whole floor to themselves.
The top floor of it. And then it was rented down, and then down street level, there different businesses moved in and out. The neighbor had a department store.
Okay.
And then when I was a youth, thinking back, because there was always thinking about Happy Days on TV.
Yeah.
Well, there was F&M, Fisher and Miller. They had like a youth. It was similar to the Bright Spot.
Okay.
Somewhere where older people could go also. But it was like a soda shop.
Okay.
And they operated that for a while. And
well, you brought up a name there, Bright Spot. Everybody talks about that. It must have been the best hangout.
That was the best hangout there. Matter of fact, probably thinking back, it was pre-Fonzie Day. That's what happened there.
It was like that.
It was like that, yeah. Local place, well kept, never any trouble. Kids respected.
Yeah.
It was a gathering place. And soda shop.
My Uncle Ron tells this story.
He was there.
Ron Leitner.
He was there.
He told about they took a goat, and they had it in the back of his convertible. He had a convertible. I'm not sure what. I think it was an Oldsmobile, big convertible, and they were hauling that goat around, and they took it to the Bright Spot. And it was the talk of the evening.
Yeah. That was, like I said, that was the fun days.
Yeah.
The fun days.
A lot more people here were here.
Yeah, well, Camber Smokeless coal mines was still operating. Strippings was operating. The woods, brickyard. It was farms, farming area.
Yeah. Down by the stream, they always talk about that there was either some kind of mill. Did they make flour or something that down next to the stream? None of those buildings are here anymore, but
well, that was what they termed Tiger's Grist Mill.
Oh, okay.
It was about a 3-4-story building. Now, when I was a kid, it really wasn't operating. That was pre-made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But what would they grind? Corn and wheat?
What I'm thinking, probably the farmers would bring grain in and they would mill it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Making chop and stuff like that for the cows.
There was railroad siding that went to the building.
Okay.
And so whether they, apparently at one time, they could ship it out, I'm thinking probably Rick Haggerty would be a good fellow to interview on that one.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that was a very large building.
But was there a lumber mill here like there was in Arvada, where they would, I don't know what you call that, when they put the logs in the water and drift them down?
I really couldn't give a good version of that. That was before my time.
Because there's an island there. Was that island always there? After, I think it's SR 3019 bridge that goes over to Rosebud. There's an island there. Did that just form, or did they use that for something?
Well,
I thought maybe.
There again, I think the stream changed, and I think the island became there. But
yeah.
But there was some type of something that was going to happen that didn't happen.
Oh, that they were going to build something?
Well, there's stream reclamation, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, dredging doesn't work. The seminars that I took,
Right.
we discovered. Well, a good example is down in Phillipsburg. I worked on that flood control dredging. They had a northwest drag line in there, and they did it. And today, that's all filled back in again, and that's what they said. The Commonwealth paid for that work, but now Phillipsburg will have to pay for it out of there, and I don't know whether they'll ever be able to.
Well, through the years, still flowing down.
Yeah, and it travels the whole way down to the Chesapeake.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted work up here to stop that. But well, we is there any buildings that I forgot to bring up?
I don't know. We could start one end of the south end of Coalport and go to the north end, and they all have stories. They do.
Yeah.
It's sad to end up as vacant lots.
Yeah. Well, this might be the start of several buildings coming down. I mean, I ate Shirley's restaurant quite a few years there, and it's just hard to believe that it's a death trap now.
There's a young child, George Ricketts, at the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And that's what it was. It was a restaurant.
Yeah, always, huh?
Candy store for the kids and
yeah.
Restaurant.
And then Bell's Restaurant down the street.
Bell's Restaurant.
Did you go to the movies at
Dixie Theater?
Dixie Theater?
Absolutely.
Did you?
That was one of my first jobs.
Was it?
Yeah.
What did you do there?
Well, a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of cleanup between the features, and my job was to change the coming attractions.
Oh.
We had the
marquees.
Marquees outside.
Wow. Yeah.
Had a movie every day, 7 days a week.
How much would it cost?
Well, I'm thinking probably, when I worked there, probably in around between 15 and 25 cents. I think 15 for youth and 25 for adults.
Wow.
And affordable.
And we had a lot of bars in town, didn't we?
We had quite a few bars. Probably more bars than churches.
How old is the Methodist Church? Since you're a trustee there, aren't you?
Well, yeah. Now you're trying to make me put a year to that, but it's the 100-year century mark or all better.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like my building was built in 1881, and Coalport incorporated in 1833. Thank you for correcting me.
1883.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the mayor had told or how in the court hearing a few weeks ago. They had in there that Coalport started in 1876.
Well, I think it was farmland then.
Was it?
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, my building is 2x4, real 2x4, and it's from the top of the building until down to the foundation. And a lot of houses were plank. And is this one studded? Your house?
This one is plank.
This one's plank.
There's plank in there as well. If you ever notice the building is there, it's under demolition. All sizes, and today you cannot afford a piece of lumber as long
as they are.
Or true dimensions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's sad that even the pictures I have up online right now, the structure looked solid. I just didn't. It's hard to believe that they wanted to demolish it, and it's definitely off the tax rolls.
Yeah, well, it has been.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And I remember the sewing factory. My grandmother, Nora O'Shell, worked there, and my Aunt Lois, who was an O'Shell, married to Ron Leitner.
Yes.
And but I understand that it used to be a skating rink. Did you go skating there? Well,
the skating was done, but it was owned by Marion Shaw.
Okay.
And naturally, he had 3 sons, but the younger one we was great friends. So Saturday we'd go in and find an old pair of roller skates and roller skate.
Oh, the floors were good enough.
But it wasn't a roller skate open to the public then.
Okay. But, you did it for fun.
Just a Saturday.
You say there was still skates there in the building?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, people, they rented skates.
Yeah.
You'd find a pair that come close.
Well, I remember the day being in my office, and the owner that owned the building, and his son had the shirt factory that was there. He came up to my office and wanted to know if I wanted the building. He was just going to give it to me. And I took him up to Mayor Madalena's house, and we talked about it, but it never went anywhere.
Never.
Yeah, and now it's owned by another gentleman, and is determined to do something with it. I think it, and with the fact that it had a lot of sewing machines, it had 440 power in the building. I mean, it was really ready for anything. And it's too bad that we couldn't entice some business to come into Coalport and set up. Maybe the gentleman that bought it will have some ideas. He seems to be pretty progressive.
I've never met him.
I've met him, but I have sometimer's disease. I can't. Sometimes I can remember names. Yeah. Sometimes I can't. And yeah.
Talking sewing factories. That was one location.
Okay.
And then the other location is where the elder store was.
Okay.
And then,
oh, that's right.
Yes. And then there was a sewing factory above the second floor where the medical center is.
Oh, yes, there was, wasn't it? Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs here.
Yeah. Well, we need that kind of spirit again. I don't know what it's going to take to get people taking a risk. And starting a business. I mean, that's...
Times have changed.
Yeah. Basically, that's what I did. I took a risk to start a print shop. Now, most all of those mom and pop print shops are gone. There's just not... Because everybody has a computer.
Digital.
And they have a printer. And so...
The electronics, I think, is destroying a lot.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar stores are going. People are shopping online.
Yeah.
And to actually have a business. Now, I've spoke to a few business people here in town that it costs so much freight to get a small item there.
Yes.
That they can't afford it.
I know.
That's why they're out of business.
That's, on Fox News, some restaurants people, they were interviewing them. Oh, there was a taxi company. I forget where it was. They went out of business because they just can't keep up with the gas, the insurance, and less people moving around.
Well, if you take like Lyft and Uber.
Yeah.
They've almost done away with the taxi cabs.
That's true. Yeah. It's hard to keep in business and personnel, and keeping them well paid and paying them all the taxes. It's scary to start a business.
A business owner is at a very disadvantage to pay a big wage to their employees. They want to.
Yeah.
But until they get big themselves, they can't do it.
That's right.
So they don't take the chance anymore.
I know. Something's got to happen. Now, you watch the trend of, we have a dollar store up of what, about 6 miles? We have a dollar store about 4 miles down from where we're sitting. And
whomever, my opinion, whoever owns dollar store or dollar general stores are seeing the trend from the big department stores, and they're stocking with about everything a person would want.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're smart.
Or are we going to be running out of gasoline that we won't even be able to drive our vehicles? That having someplace close like this?
That's the trend.
Yeah.
I don't know. The world's so much different. As you can see, even automobiles.
Yeah.
That the sedan automobile isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
If you want something, you get an SUV.
Right.
Okay. Now you're going to see, if you go to an automobile dealership, you're going to get an electric car. You're not going to get a gasoline car. And that's the plan to phase out the gasoline.
Yeah.
The carbon now. The environment needs cleaned up. There's no doubt about it. But you can't do it instantly.
Right.
Fossil fuel is here. And what really worries me, you watch the news every night, they want to give relief at the pumps. I'm all for that.
Uh-huh.
But come next winter, relief to heat people's homes.
That's going to be a
When
challenge.
you're paying close $5 a gallon for home heating, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And people's going to dip into their savings, and you're destroying the structure.
Uh-huh.
Period.
Well, I'm glad
I get preaching, so maybe I'll take a collection on that one. I could go further.
Well, yeah,
And I could get sarcastic, but nobody wants
we need to hear some of that sarcasm.
But nobody wants to hear what I'm not saying.
You said something about nepotism, and I've been trying to remember how you said that.
I look at nepotism as a good thing as long as you keep it in the family.
There you go. I forgot how you said that. I thought that was great. Yeah. Oh, let's see if I got you on there. My hand's getting tired holding it there, so I'm going to put it down here.
Well, then we can put the interview.
Now, what didn't we hit?
Each other.
There was. We have nice baseball fields down here.
Yes.
Was that a thriving thing at one time?
Yes, it was. Starting when I was young, the major ball field was here at Beechwood.
Okay.
And I always thought these fellows, these major leaguers, they was older and better players.
Uh-huh.
But Sundays, Beechwood Park was full.
Uh-huh.
Because we had the baseball teams. And then later on, they went to Little League, and I don't know why that has dropped off here in the borough. It's disturbing.
Yeah, Blandburg seemed to have a thriving.
Arvona does,
Uh-huh.
and then softball.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of good softball teams. It seems like our fields down here is in disarray.
Yeah. Now, I understand, was there Sunday band that a band would pay in town?
That was pre-me.
Was it?
Yes.
Because I see pictures of a band, I don't know whether it was...
Probably the Moose, I think, maybe.
Was it the Moose?
Maybe.
That they had a band?
Now, this is... I can only go back to 1937.
Okay.
Before that, I know nothing.
Well, I know you worked for, was it Swank's?
Swank yeah.
Swank. Did somebody own it before them?
No, that was a family owned it. They were located in Johnstown.
Okay.
They had 3-4 different brickyards in the areas.
Okay.
And then later on, they sold to a Japanese firm, TYK.
TYK. And it just phased out then.
Well, I think there was politics there.
Was there?
Yeah, I won't go into that.
Okay. Were you a manager down there, or?
No, well, they gave titles.
They gave you titles?
Yeah, the Japanese, they like to have titles.
Yeah. What would be a normal day? What would something you did that you gained the skill at? What did you have to load bricks into those hoppers, or whatever? I don't know what you call them.
Well, when Swank had the brickyard, it was clay products.
Okay.
Then when the Japanese came, they went with exotic material.
Oh.
I mean, it was much harder, different forms and whatever. It was all steel mill products.
They would have to ship everything in? Was there a railroad at one time that shipped everything in?
There was one time, and then when they removed the rails, it was all trucked in.
But you remember the trains moving?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Wagner said he used to when he was young, he would hitch a ride on the trains. I forget where he was going, but it seemed like there was a lot of travel in trains.
Well, talking to the older people of my day, like my mother and father, and it was passenger. Lots of people traveled. Automobiles were available, but the train was a good transportation.
Not too many cars. However, you had, from, what'd you say, 50... When did you start your business?
1955.
55 to 71? 70.
And well, why we went out of the business, that I was working both jobs. I was working at the brickyard in Narbona, and then I was working at the gas station there with my dad. And then my father, he ran for district magistrate, and he was the district magistrate.
Oh, didn't know that. Yeah.
So we had a family discussion about keeping the business, and we thought, well, maybe we just get out of the business.
Now, did you sell your business to somebody else?
Lynn Swagger took the business.
Lynn Swagger, okay. I remember him doing it for a while. Yeah. And Lynn was on council too.
Yes, he was.
How many years was he on council?
You probably have to ask a family member.
Okay.
I'm not sure. He was on when I went on. He was one of the mentors.
Yeah. I remember him being on. Yeah. Everybody, all the councilmen seemed to be prestigious people. Well, you had, I can't think of, Mr. Wilt did he live in the borough at one time?
Who was this?
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Robert? And then there was Mr. Winslow, and they were both teachers. So they were in high regard before they got on council. And then
we always had men and women of integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That meant a lot.
But it did. I mean, you looked up to all them in the borough, and you felt secure.
Right.
Yeah.
So even the mayor's husband, God rest his soul, Tom, he was president of council when I was on.
Tom Madalena was president.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And I can't think of all the presidents, mostly because you were there as president most of the time. Yeah. So Tom was on first, and then
Bill Hewitt. And then I had my reign of terror.
Okay.
After that.
Okay. And let's see. There's been lots of different people on council.
Yes.
I was on there.
We had 7 counselors all the time. And we never had a problem filling the seats.
Right.
Never.
How do you feel about dropping it from 7 to 5?
I was against it.
Yeah.
I made a statement at that hearing in court.
And did you feel that maybe the judge would have left it at 7 since there was so many people there to discuss the issue?
Well, the judge, he judges by law.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that's true.
And I did make the statement that I thought that would hurt the borough. And 3 years later, here we are, 4 months into this year, and we just got a government seated.
Yes, and they haven't had a meeting yet.
Well, then it's not seated yet.
That's true. They didn't have an organizational meeting.
No.
Yeah.
And that's embarrassing to the borough.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues that have been lost since the time went by.
Yeah.
We're starting a 5th month
Yeah.
without a council.
Yeah.
And a lot of grants. Right now, in April, usually is when they start contracts for paving. They have nothing in place. They haven't met. They haven't made any resolutions. They don't have a solicitor. And the mayor's signing checks, so that's something different.
That is absolutely something different.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, well, I don't know whether you want to talk council.
We could cut any of this, but
When it comes time that they offer a maintenance person to sign checks, that's not the way to do business.
no. I never had an employee, and I've had several. I've never had them sign my checks.
No,
I signed all the checks.
there's always orders.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's sad.
I hope it gets back a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But,
Well, we covered... Do you know much about the mines that used to be here?
other than when they processed the coal, all the women, they didn't hang their laundry out.
It was a little pretty dusty here. Huh?
Yes, it was.
Well, the trains would have been coal-fired, wouldn't they, some of them?
Yes, they were.
So when they would come through town, probably filled the whole town full of smoke.
That was norm.
It was normal.
It was normal.
Yeah, everybody was used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can remember the bony pile up on top. We call it the bony pile.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it.
I think DEP called it a refuge pile.
A refuge pile. It was on fire most of the
Yes,
time.
they were. When they smoked, and you had that sulfur smell.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe people, they figured they knew where he was from when he went out of town. But then again, on a damp day, you could smell the paper mill from Tyrone over there.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
They would carry.
They were really working then.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, how many times would the train come through town? Did they have a runs? Because
usually, I'd say probably every other day, or sometimes every day.
Wow. I mean,
two sets of tracks.
Oh, two sets of...
One on the west side and one on the east side.
Okay.
The trains came through.
My grandfather, David Oshel, and my grandmother, Nora Oshel, had their 50th anniversary. And when we had the up from McGill's Lumber was their house. Yes. And it was across the tracks from McGill's Lumber. And the train was still running, and so during our outing in the yard there, a train went by, and we're waving at the engineer as he's taking the train through. So I remember seeing that, and I was in my 20s when I saw that. So now I'm 74. So. Oh my! All those memories, and when you're that age, didn't it seem like at a certain time in your life you just thought everything was going to stay that way?
Utopia.
Yeah. It just seemed like my grandfather and grandmother would be here, and my aunts and uncles would all be.
You'd always have an endless summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's the best thing that ever happened to you in life?
My wife and my son.
Very good.
Yes.
I was hoping that's what you said. That means a lot.
There's other things come close.
Yeah.
Members.
Yes.
A lot of members.
Yeah. If you could say one thing to help this town, what would you say to the people in the future that'll see this?
You know, that's a hard question offhand. I might say something that wouldn't be correct. The town is home, and it's home to a lot of people because they've stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are good.
Yes.
Good, strong people.
Yes.
And they're going to survive, no matter what the world situation. And we do have a world situation coming at us. And I hope the future doesn't turn out the way that the news presents it to us. I really hope so. And people would really better love each other.
If what has happened in Ukraine, do you think the people would rally around like the Ukrainian people if there was an attack on this little town of Coalport?
That'd be hard to say. Really hard to say. And what the Russian regime is doing to that particular country is like scorched earth. And I don't think Russia is in a situation to rebuild. In Ukraine, I've learned a lot that it's a productive country.
Yeah.
And they're destroying it. So scorched earth,
Sad.
what's going to happen to it?
Yeah. Well, this has been a privilege that I've been wanting to do.
I know you thought me.
I've wanted to do this for a long time. And if you think of anything after we've done, I'll make a copy of my presentation and I'll let you see it first. Anything that you want to cut out or if you want to add to it, we can do it. And
how long have we been?
I don't know. I think an hour.
Well, we could edit at least 59 minutes of it.
Oh, I like your humor. You should have been Johnny Carson. I mean, there was some difficult times, and I always appreciated. I like to debate. I'm not a person that shies away from conflict. But when we had conflict, one of the things you would do most often that I really appreciate, you would pull the Borough Code book out and you would read from it, and that thus saith the president. and I think that was really great, I thought.
I've always turned the Title 8, but I've never turned it parallel to the Bible, to our Bible.
No.
But it is the state mandate, and it's the Borough Bible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what we live by.
That's right. We do.
And I've seen a lot of things that wasn't lived by.
We have ordinances.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many ordinances do you think that you introduced and that council voted on?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
If you violate a borough ordinance, what do you think that legally, what do you think is happening?
Borough ordinance is law.
Okay.
It's law to live by. So you cannot do away with the ordinance. You can amend it.
Uh-huh.
But the ordinance, original ordinance, stays.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes. You can repeal it, but the original has to stay there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It never goes away.
Yeah.
That brings up a question of, can you imagine how many times an ordinance was litigated, that people were taken to the magistrate as a result?
Not in my years on council. We've already resolved.
Okay.
Some way or other. And everybody seemed to agree to the way we resolved it.
But it was the mayors would enforce the ordinances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people didn't question the ordinance. If you showed them the ordinance, they said that's in the ordinance, and
they back
they
off.
agreed. It wasn't challenged.
Yeah. Well, the borough has codification. Did you work on the codification?
I looked at them.
Okay.
There were some that I didn't agree with, and I still don't agree with.
Okay.
But I'll live by them.
Which one? Can you pick out one that just from your memory that stood out to you?
Yes, the parking signs here on Walnut Street.
Okay. And what do? Restrict?
They restricted parking. Yeah.
Okay.
It was selective. And I don't know whether it was directed toward me personally. I don't know.
Oh. Only one side parking, or one side?
They codified the ordinance, and they stated in the original, and they approved it, that it was Walnut Street. On the south side, no parking. And I left them approve the whole ordinance, and I brought it up.
Uh-huh.
And then they chastised me for not bringing it up before, because they didn't stay with the ordinance as what it was stated. They selectively picked out part of it. And as soon as they done that, they went back and they appealed, amended the ordinance.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
But is Walnut Street the only one that is selected for only one side parking?
I think on Pine Street there's a section of that.
Is there?
Yeah.
Going up the hill.
Going up the hill behind them, by the mayor's house.
Okay. Yeah. If they had two-sided parking on Walnut Street by your house here, would it have to be a one-way street?
That I don't know. I really don't know.
Might be too narrow to...
I know, excuse me, I'm getting a little hoarse here, but apparently to do any streets or anything, you most have to go through PennDOT. I believe to get their approval to do a lot of things.
Yeah, well, for the signage.
Yes.
Yeah. We were discussing an issue that you were pretty firm on that we needed to do on a regular basis, that there are some streets or alleys that are dedicated.
Yes.
And
that laid out. Yes.
And if they don't do anything about them for 21 years, you lose. So
it becomes unusable to either the property owners or the borough. And that's, you can't close off borough property.
How did you legally enforce that? Did you do in the newspaper or something, or did you create an ordinance?
No, it was done by motion. We motioned, and the landowner, if they was in violation, we send them a notice,
Okay.
informing them that that was still an alley.
Okay. Now this
14 feet.
14 feet.
Yes.
Now there's a easement, looks like, between this building that is being torn down. Can they close that alley, and after it's all done, and half go to one owner and half go to the other?
They go to the borough, and the borough agrees.
Is that one of the alleys that you always...
That is an open alley.
do you know the name of that alley?
I'd have to look on the map on that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It could be Fawn, but I could be totally wrong on that.
Okay.
I've been away from the borough, and some of these is getting back in my memory.
Yeah, me too.
I've deleted a few things.
Like I said before, I have sometimer's disease.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't.
Well, you get your head so full, you have to delete a few things to get more junk in it.
That's right. All right. Well, this has been a pleasure that I have longed to do. I wish I would have done it for multiple people. The lady that used to live over top of Bell's, I wanted to talk to her. Pauline Gordon. Mr. Wagner,
Pauline Gordon, she would have knitted you a sweater while you was interviewing.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, my. And they're gone.
They're gone.
And all their memories are gone.
As a matter of fact, speaking of Pauline Gordon, this property here was a Gordon property way back.
The house that burnt.
Yes.
I saw in the newspaper that has been adjudicated now. He was found guilty. But it's second degree, where he can be paroled in 20 years. In good behavior, it might be less than that.
That's still a length.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate fortune.
Yeah, that's sad.
Everybody that was involved.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he never, as Chris Pence said to the court, that it wasn't his intent to kill somebody. Yeah. It just happened in the result of arson. And
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Thank God, and all the fire companies saved my property here.
Oh, yes.
I'll never, I couldn't praise both.
The fire company.
Forever.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, the heat, if that would have been more intense, it would have scorched your house and maybe even caught it on fire.
Well, the firemen, they said that they would protect my property, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah, they did well. I got.
This could have been the whole block going.
Oh yeah. Especially the other empty house. It's like a matchbox.
No idea how that survived.
Especially when it started right there.
Well, this is still being interviewed.
Yeah.
That you and I, we've had our differences through the years.
Yes.
But we've survived.
We have. And I appreciate your friendship.
Subject to change.
Subject to change, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think we hit quite a few things. Anything I missed?
I didn't know what you wanted.
I got a lot of what I wanted to hear, and people will be really interested. And what this does, it stimulates other conversation. I remember, and even if we did something wrong, they'll correct us, and they'll give more information. I love this. And Mr. Wagner used to come in every day for 20 minutes. The first 5 minutes he would quote a poem, and then he would tell history. And we walked the streets, and he would point out. I stood behind him as we walked down the street, and he would point back and forth saying what was there. And a lot of people don't know that Main Street was not Main Street.
Oh, Main Street one time.
It was up where the railroad track. Yeah. Yeah. And we had a beer distributor or a beer factory or whatever.
Apparently, that was before my time.
Yep. And the kids used to take their pails, their dad's pail that they would take into the mines and go down to the local tavern.
That's the way of life.
And they would get a bucket of beer.
Or a sip if you will.
Oh, you never know what kids will do, huh? Well, I really appreciate it. Good stimulus.
Once history is lost, it's lost.
It is.
And as years go by, it dims out.
Yes.
And you try to recall, and maybe it's fact, and maybe it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have our own perceptual filters. We see things and we hear things different. Because if you talk to a lot of different people, they see things a little bit different.
Usually, if you have 3 witnesses, you have 4 versions.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
As a matter of fact, it was just this morning that I was speaking with Tim McNally.
Okay.
And we was talking about a property, and neither one of us can remember who had it previous.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
And I think that could be lost, because the people that I used to go to are gone.
Yes.
Are gone.
Yes. Yeah, I have a video of what I did with Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
but I can't find it now. I have so many of them. But yeah, he was a great source of information.
He was a fountain of information.
He was. He was a school teacher, postmaster, worked as the accountant for the mines.
Very intelligent family.
Yes.
Whole family.
Yes. When he passed away, but before he passed away, we were going through a poetry book that he had, and when I went over to say something to his son, I think his name was John. John, I said, there was the book that is laying on his table is the book that we were working through with the poetry, and he gave me that book. Mr. Wagner's son gave me that book. It was. I just prized that. I have it locked up in a fireproof box, and with his video, he wouldn't allow me to interview him, and I have all the tapes of his interview.
So my wife, she just handed me a little bit of a note.
Hey, that'd be good. You want to look at your notes and?
Well, no. Before her and I got together, my mother, she had a gift shop in this building here.
Oh, okay.
You know,
oh, wow, I didn't know.
A little groceries, but ice cream and stuff, but it was a gift shop.
She was wisdom. She would share stuff with me all the time. She would scold me sometimes.
Well, she was good at that.
But it was all in love. I mean, she had a strength that was admirable, in my opinion. I mean, I had spent a lot of time with her.
Well, she was one of the quarter posts here in town also. She was very active in the church, very, very active. She was secretary of the school board,
Wow.
Then she went on the school board, and then she was president of the local telephone company, Louisville Cambria Telephone Company.
Wow.
And she was a doer.
She
One
was.
of the I was proud of her.
And she moved from place to place.
Yes.
With the progress. Yeah. I miss her. Yeah, she was
a strong person.
She was.
And my father also.
Had a lot of wisdom, though.
Yeah.
And that's... if I wanted to bounce something off of her, she would allow me, and then she'd give me her opinion.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. She was like a second mother there to me. I was fixing the porch on the front of my building, and she walked down and she said, "Could you make me a place in your building for the progress?" And I'll remember that. I was on my knees when she came. So, yeah, and so we made her own bathroom, and she had to have a place to store the newspapers. I wish I had all those newspapers. I think she moved them all out when she left, but those would be priceless now.
Yeah. The newspapers went back to the company.
Yeah, but she had some.
Oh yes, yeah, back issues.
She even used them for insulation. She had them stuffed in the cracks because I didn't finish the molding on it. So she had it.
Well, one time maybe you could enlighten me. How many news carriers? Because that was extra money for a lot of kids.
It was.
I would say probably maybe 15 at one time. Yeah.
Lawn mowing was my first job that I did, and I always used somebody else because my dad wouldn't let me use his lawnmower to mow other people's lawns.
Right.
And then I got a chance to do Progress newspapers.
Right.
And I had Filbert Street in Curvensville, went up over Bailey Road, and went clear out to the end. And that was a long walk. I mean, it seemed like 2 miles straight to my last house.
Yeah.
But that's where I think I made $18.
For Christmas time and holidays,
You cashed in.
people treated you very good.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
And some would give you tips when you'd go
Oh, absolutely.
get paid. And
They was waiting for that paper.
yeah,
They was waiting for the paper.
yeah, and the people.
Big thing in the day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I get mine electronically now. But,
See, that's what we spoke of earlier.
yeah, I was just reading different things, and that's where I saw. It's in yesterday's paper about Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing that work, and then I was mowing a lawn beside the house right across the street was Goodman's, Jack Goodman, and he owned IGA in Curvensville. And he said, "Would you like a job?" And I used to eat at his table in the morning because I was just a young kid, and we went back and forth. Their daughter Sandy was about my age, and we had a good friendship. And then she got rheumatic fever, and so she needed somebody to come and play games and spend the day because she was by herself. Because Jack and Ruth Goodman, they worked at the IGA all day long together. They were wonderful people. And
that part is a good part of your life.
yes.
The good years of your life.
Yeah, and so I got that job, and I got a raise then to $26 a week. And then I bought a motor scooter for $300, brand new.
People would laugh because they probably make more within a couple minutes of today. But I worked at the stock room at the J.J. Newberry's.
Okay.
And $25 a week, and that was 6 days a week.
Wow.
And I had more money than I could spend, and more friends.
Well, who did they build that building new there? Five and Dime. Oh, it was there.
Yeah, it was there. I'm not sure when they did build it, but J.J. Newberry was the company.
Yeah. And then we had an N.P.
Kaufman and Alpena owned the building.
Oh, did they? Wow.
Apparently they were. I can't.
See how much history you have between the two of you.
Well, apparently Kaufman's, they were the merchants in town.
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
what I said. So I just remembered everything you knew.
Did you remember when Harry Bender came in town?
Harry Bender, he was, believe me, Walmart took a page out of his book.
I think so.
He was the original person, the entrepreneur.
I remember going to the one that was right there in your parking lot for the Methodist Church.
Well, originally, Harry Bender had a store on the corner where Dave Haggerty's house is today.
Oh, okay.
Dark and dungy, but anything you wanted, from shoelaces to airplanes, Harry Bender had.
Yeah.
And everybody used to laugh at Harry, but he kept a lot of people because that was hard times.
Yes.
And his prices were right, but he had everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pre-Walmart.
Well, I remember my first experience, and I'd say I was probably 12 years old, and I went in there with my grandfather, David Osho, and we went in there, and I thought my grandfather lost his mind. There was a gun, a little toy, and I picked it up, and it had a price on it, and I know the price wasn't that much. And my grandfather started dickering with him.
Yes.
and I thought, well, I'll pay that price for it. And he got it down lower than what the price was on the item.
Oh.
And that was my first experience with Harry Bender. And they said he used to, if you had a bill there, he would raise it, the bill, and then you go in and argue on it, and he got what he originally had on there.
Harry, he was a businessman. And your Uncle Ron and him were, I think Ron used to take him to New York where he bought lots.
Wow.
Items.
Yeah. I don't know. That's something I didn't know. Yeah, Ron did about anything.
And Harry, he had a sense of humor. He was an older person when I knew him. But he always said that his education, that he went through Penn State. Meaning that he drove.
He drove through it. Oh, my.
But his family all done well in their lives.
Yes, yeah.
And his wife, she had an upscale store at the corner right by your building.
I know.
Because if you went to Harry's store and he didn't have it, he would direct you up to Mrs. Bender, and she had it.
Yes. Their daughter.
They had the corner on the merchant.
Their daughter Dorothy lived in New York, and she gave me a key, and I was to take care if anybody needed into the building for quite a few years, and then Harry Simmelsberger had it torn down, I guess. But and there was a building behind that building before Harry built his new house there. And did the fire company have?
Fire company house. where the fire company was.
I thought that. Yeah.
There was an apartment overhead that they rented.
Oh. Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember the fire company wasn't in there when I moved in '74, but they moved from there down to that other building?
Yes.
Did the fire company build that building?
McGill built it.
Oh, McGill built it.
McGill, he was, I don't know how far into manufacturing they went, but they was manufacturing screen doors and screen windows.
Oh, wow.
And how it come about, whether they donated the building to the fire company or what, I'm not privy to that.
Oh, okay. Well, we hit quite a few places there.
Quite a few, yeah.
What'd we forget, Jackie?
What? Oh, there's so many businesses that we missed. So many.
Yeah. You had somebody that did shoes, repair shoes.
There's quite a few shoemakers. There was Capitos. Now we're really getting into the parking lot of the medical center.
Okay.
On the north side between Rudy and the medical center.
Okay.
There's an Esso gas station.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. They had a problem about that tank.
Esso gas station. And right part of the building is Capitos's shoe making. You had all the big belts and, the people, they repaired shoes. Nowadays, they're throwaways.
Right.
Nobody resoles them. It's the poor people. Back then, we went to the 5 and 10 or whatever, got soles and glued and...
Yeah. They would stitch them on and... And
then Smedden had a shoe shop.
And where was it?
Right, I'm saying Gallagher's store because there's a little part of that store between there and Sunshine.
Okay.
He had a shoe shop in there.
Okay.
And then across the street where Scotty's rental property is.
We used to call that the Green.
The Greens, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a building in there, Joe Russo, he had a shoe shop in there.
Oh, in that building too?
Everybody made a living.
Yeah. Wow. Now like you said, everything's throwaway and...
Throwaways, yeah.
And actually...
I don't even think people work too fast. They work really hard and they throw them away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. My shoes came from China, but they're not man-made. They're not leather. I'm allergic to leather. I break out, so I can't wear a regular leather shoe. I have trouble with that. But there used to be a building right beside Rudy's gas station there, and I got my hair cut there. Sackett.
Yes.
And then Joe, I can't think of his name. He used to cut hair, and then he went to the bank. Joe Riley. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a barbershop.
Yeah.
His barbershop was down where Homer Pond. There was a little part of that building. The hotel. That's where Joe Riley had his barbershop.
Where was that now?
Homer Pond.
Oh, okay, Gnader's old building.
Gnader's hotel.
Yeah. Somebody's doing remodeling in there for something.
Well, I heard that Homer sold the building.
Yes.
Okay, maybe you.
I don't know who it is though. Even though I'm the tax collector, I don't know everybody yet.
That was a stately building in its time.
Yeah. In fact, I just got a request for it's still in Mr. Khan's name. So I do a lot of what they call tax certificates that banks and different places will want a certificate of what people owe or have paid. So I do a lot of that. Well, we hit just about everything. Was there anything ever in the parking lot of Mr. Haggerty's there where he used to have cars? Is that just was car parking?
That was pretty well a open field. Apparently, at one time, that belonged to the coal company, and they used that to pasture before they mechanized. Now, this is what history that I've learned.
Okay.
That they bring the mules out of the mine.
Oh yeah,
and they would pasture them there.
Wow. Well, right across the street from that, that was a house, according to Mr. Wagner. And he because his house where he lived is where Lang's used to have a department store, I think. I think that was his homestead. Wagner. Isn't there a W or something on in the pavement, or else they dug that up? But anyway, he.
That was originally part of that was the post office at one time.
Oh my!
Before they moved uptown.
Well, Mr. Wagner told me the story that there was a house right there on the corner, across from is the bright spot the one on the corner, or was it a?
The bright spot's right directly across from Haggerty's garage.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Then across from the bright spot on that Union Street or whatever street name it is.
Hill Street.
Before it goes over the bridge.
Hill Street.
Hill Street. Anyway, there was a lady chopping wood in the front yard, and she was chopping because that's the way they heated. They had wood, and she went inside. She had her baby, and she come back out and finished chopping wood.
Strong women.
Strong women in Coalport.
Yeah.
He told me that a couple times, but and then the Edelbrut that had Blut, is that what it is? Edelbrut?
My understanding that the Packard garage, Haggerty's garage, was originally the Edelbrut building.
Okay.
And I'm not sure whether it's the Edelbrut coal company or not. Don't quote me on that.
Well, I knew that Edelbrut was involved with coal somehow.
Yes.
And Mr. Wagner said that he had a rubber-tired wagon that he pulled stuff on, and that was impressive to him. Yeah. Loud motorcycles. Boy, we got a lot of them today. The weather has changed.
Out.
Yeah, everybody's out. Well,
Well, if we keep talking and bring a subject up, we could go forever.
I know, and that's wonderful. Yeah. I forgot about the mules.
Yeah.
That they did pasture there. That's Mr. Wagner told me. So you confirmed that again.
And backtracking a little bit, my uncle Fred Rosowski.
Okay.
And Yawkey Anderson.
Okay.
They were kids at the time. They would get down and let the gate open and let the mules out. And then I don't know whether they called the manager of the coal company saying the mules are out. And the coal company would pay them to gather the mules up and take them back. So that was their way of making money.
Job security, huh?
Job security.
Oh my. Well, we have an ordinance in town here that you were permitted to leave your cows out a certain period of times in the day. It's right there in writing. I've read it, and they had to be penned up so we had cows running loose in town.
They were the early ordinances. Yeah.
But the roads were all muddy and dirt.
I'm not sure. I'm guessing. I would say probably 32 or 33, maybe, that they paved Route 53. I'm guessing at that.
Okay.
So,
And that's something.
mm-hmm.
But there are pictures of muddy roads and boardwalks.
Yes.
Yeah, so, wow. There had to have been a lot of lumber in this area. Big stuff. As I said, my 2x4, a full 2x4, they go from the foundation up 2 stories as a solid piece. They're not like today that you would build 8 feet up and then you would build a floor and then you'd build another 8 feet up.
Well, if you have older houses, which I'm living in an older house, and you remodeled, and you come off of the true 2x4 to the modern 2x4, you had to shim.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I've seen that done.
I've seen it here in my roof right here.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you did a beautiful improvement on your house.
Yeah. That's been over 50 years. Now.
And then it runs your taxes up. I'm just waiting for them to run my taxes up now that I sided it. That was one of the reasons why I wouldn't do it.
I'm in the last quarter of my life, so there's not going to be a whole lot of improvement. Sorry to say that.
Well, I feel like that myself. You know, what should I venture out and doing things? Some things I'd like to do. I was even thinking about. I guess the Anderson house is up for judicial sale, and one person did buy it, and then, but I thought, boy, I could tear all that down, make that a big lot, put some sewerage connections in it, and if people come from, they often don't have enough places up at Glendale year-round, or Glendale Park. And I thought, well, maybe if I could put 6 campers in there and rent it out, it'd be something to use that property up in.
It's a big property.
It is. Yeah. And it's pretty flat. And I know all of the property isn't part of that, but a lot of it. And then there's a nice garage there I could turn into a laundry. You have to have a place where people can wash clothes and take a shower if you have campers. But that would bring people into the community, was my hope. I really appreciate it. I didn't think we'd get this much involved.
This is a funeral home. What? John, this is a funeral home.
That was before my time.
Oh,
yeah, before.
This was a funeral home?
What I understand, yes. Yes.
It's kind of dead itself right now.
Well, George Bell, he had a funeral home up at the old Pizza King. That was a funeral home.
Oh, really?
A funeral home.
Chaplin's, was it? Chaplin pretty...
Everybody was dying to get in.
Yeah, I'm sure. My Uncle Ron Leitner, we'd go by a graveyard and he'd say that's a silent city.
It is. City of the dead.
Yeah.
My grandmother said, don't ever be afraid to go into a cemetery. They're the only people who won't hurt you.
No, they won't.
They won't.
But it was always a place that you did want to go to.
It sort of give you goosebumps.
Yeah. Well, we all die eventually, and after that, according to the scriptures, it's judgment. So your words of wisdom that we should share love and work together is important.
I don't know. I may live forever, I know, because St. Peter said I'm not good enough to get in.
Uh-huh.
The devil has a restraining order against me. So I don't know where I'm at. I'm here.
Oh my. Well, this was good. If you think of other things in the future,
we could talk forever.
we'll set. It's just good to reminisce that type of things. And now, a lot of people are gone. Mr. Askey's gone. Mr. Roop is gone.
Those two people, falls there that I miss. And I'm missing Jack Roop terribly.
Yeah.
Him and I, we started first grade, and if he was here, because he'd always visit, we never had an argument, we never had bad word. We always got along, and we done things we don't want anybody to know.
Sure.
But he was a true friend, true friend. So I'd ask you the same. I miss him.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting to that point, like I just said, I'm in the last quarter of my life. I don't have friends that I can reminisce and remember. I have friends.
Yeah.
They're associates.
Yeah. It's hard for men to have more than 5 friends. If you have 5 friends, you're really doing good.
You're lucky.
Yeah. I have a lot of acquaintances.
Yes.
But true friends that you could depend on to share your life with, it's hard to find those, especially for men. We're not unique at all. Men don't usually have more than 5 true friends. My son's experiencing one of his friends just passed away. He was young. He had a stroke. And it impacted him.
I know.
Friends are treasured. I have a lot of true friends that are...
You know you have a true friend when you're sitting in jail and your friend's sitting beside you and you look at him and you say, that was fun. That's a friend.
Oh, boy. Those are the days.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for all you shared. You have anything to add, Jackie?
I consider this as a trap.
No.
You trapped me.
No. I when people see this, it's going to stimulate so much discussion and things that they never knew. And everyone, like I said, in your head you have a computer and you have a hard drive that you are stored information that nobody else will ever know unless you tell. And I just, as I said, I wanted to do Pauline Gordon. I wanted to do Mr. Lang, Dick. I knew he had a lot he could say. Mrs. Shank always kept to herself. She was confidential everything. So it would have been hard for me to get something. She was always polite and kind, but she was business. And in the back of my building was where is it Jim Lang Sr. had he was Burgess or something?
He was Burgess up until, I think it was 1958 when they went to mayor, and then he reverted over to the first mayor, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But before it was Burgess.
Okay. Burgess was never, that role was never like a magistrate. Is that correct? Or was it?
I'm not sure how much authority they had, but as a kid, you didn't want to go before Burgess.
Oh, is that right?
It scared you.
It scared you?
Yes.
Court used to be that way with me, going to magistrate.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're just people like us. As long as you tell the truth,
Yeah.
that makes the difference. If you lie to them, wow, you're in trouble.
I know oftentimes when Dad, he never come home and discuss anything. But he said, what was humorous, like a family dispute.
Uh-huh.
That the wife would bring a charge against the husband, put him in jail, and by the time that he got to jail, she rescinded and they had to bring him back.
Well, today, in today's courts, if you try to do that, it's going to cost the one that made the charge $500 to take it off. Yeah. Yeah, they make it a penalty. Yeah, so you better be careful taking somebody to court like that. Yeah, especially one that you love. If they didn't love each other, they wouldn't be fighting.
Well,
You have to care about
he got over it quickly, I guess.
Well, now, your father was a burgess or a magistrate? Oh, he was the magistrate, yes.
That's when they first created the magistrates.
Oh.
It was District 1. His office was located in the Bright Spot, in the corner of the Bright Spot.
Okay.
That's where he held court.
And was there for many years, and then it moved over to the building adjacent, or did they build that?
They moved when he passed away. They redistricted, and then it went to where it is today. Bob Vogel, he come up when Dad was sick.
Oh, okay.
And then I can't think of the lady from Mahaffey filled in a little bit.
So your father was the first magistrate in Coalport?
Yes.
Wow.
It was District 1. It covered as big as district as what Glass has. And,
wow.
It was the beginning of it, yeah.
Well, that was worth talking
Yeah.
to find out. First magistrate. I remember Vogel.
Yeah, Bob, he was in District 2, I think, down around Houtzdale and that way.
Okay. Well, they had, right beside the Bright Spot is I think it was, chiropractor was in there.
Yes.
And that was the magistrate's office, I remember.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think we did well. We hit some things. We got some historical and anything we forgot?
Well, a lot.
We got a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that clock doesn't work.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Did you ever hear that?
I was looking at that. I think I came up here about 4 o'clock.
Did you ever hear the song? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, is that?
5 o'clock somewhere.
Well, that's a nice looking clock.
Well,
Just needs wound up, huh?
That was my mother's clock.
Oh.
And it passed away also, so
Oh.
I just never wanted to throw it away.
Yeah. It looks nice, though.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'll stop this.